Hi dear students, welcome to the next video. Today we will be talking about mammary gland or breast. So we are studying about upper limb for the last few weeks. So if you have not seen the muscles of the upper limb, I have done a video on that. Please go and watch that. Then later you can see this video. So let's start about the mammary gland. So you can have a question like this. Describe mammary gland under the following headings: structure, blood supply, lymphatic drainage, and applied anatomy. So mammary gland, it's a modified sweat gland. So sweat gland is modified here to form mammary gland. It's well developed in females after the puberty. So at the age of puberty, the mammary gland develops in females, and it is lying in superficial fascia of pectoral region. Pectoral region is this area or this area. In the superficial fascia, mammary gland is located. A small extension of the mammary gland, which is called axillary tail of Spence, axillary process, which pierces the deep fascia and lies in the axilla. Axilla is the armpit. So a part of the mammary gland that goes into the axilla. Sagittal section of the breast, which lies in the superficial fascia, can be seen. And the pectoralis major muscle and the fascia covering the pectoralis major muscle, pectoralis fascia or pectoral fascia. Extent of the mammary gland. Vertically it extends from 2nd to 6th rib. Almost from the 2nd to 6th rib it is extending vertically. Horizontal extension from the lateral border of the sternum to the mid-axillary line. Mid-axillary line is a line that is passing through the center of the axilla. So the sagittal section where the mammary gland is lying in the superficial fascia, superficial to the pectoral fascia, deep structures like pectoralis major and the ribs also can be seen. Another picture of the mammary gland lying superficial to the pectoralis major muscle. Deep relations are pectoral fascia. Pectoral fascia is the fascia covering the pectoralis major. Serratus anterior. Serratus anterior is a muscle which is originating from the lateral aspect of the ribs. External oblique muscle is a muscle which is seen in the abdomen, which forms the anterolateral wall of the abdomen. It arises from this area. Now mammary gland is separated from the pectoral fascia by a loose areolar tissue called retromammary space. So the mammary gland is located in front of the pectoral fascia, but there is a small gap that can be seen in this area, and this space is called retromammary space. So retromammary space is behind the mammary gland, just in front of pectoral fascia. It's made of loose areolar tissue. Now because of this loose areolar tissue which is located here, the normal breast can be moved freely over pectoralis major. So this loose areolar tissue which gives mobility to the normal breast. The structure of mammary gland consists of three parts: skin, parenchyma and stroma. Usually we talk about the gland. There are two parts of the gland, parenchyma and the stroma, but here we are having one more criteria, that is skin, which is added to this because this gland is lying very superficial to the skin, and also it modifies the skin over that area. So that is why we are considering the skin here also. So let's see the skin over the mammary gland. So there's a conical projection called nipple is present just below the center of mammary gland at the level of fourth intercostal space. So the position of the nipple is the fourth intercostal space, and the nipple is pierced by some lactiferous ducts ranging from 15 to 20 lactiferous ducts. Lactiferous ducts are the ducts which carries the milk, so they are opening into the nipple. So the nipple is pierced by these ducts, lactiferous ducts. It is rich in its nerve supply and has many sensory end organs at the terminations of nerve fibers. So the nipple is supplied by a lot of nerve fibers, so it's very sensitive. Now skin surrounding the base of the nipple is pigmented and forms a circular area called areola. So nipple and the areola. This region is rich in modified sebaceous glands, particularly at its outer margin. So this area has a lot of sebaceous glands opening. It's seen particularly on the margins, outer margin, and these becomes enlarged during pregnancy and lactation to form raised tubercles of Montgomery. So these sebaceous glands, they become very active and they become enlarged during pregnancy and lactation. That is to prevent the cracking of the nipple or the areola, and these enlarged structures are called tubercles of Montgomery. Oily secretions of these glands lubricate the nipple and the areola and prevents them from cracking during lactation, because there is a lot of chance that the nipple, the areola can get cracked during lactation. So this should be prevented, and that is prevented by the oily secretion which is secreted by these sebaceous glands. Parenchyma. Parenchyma is the next component of the mammary gland. It's made of glandular tissue which secretes the milk. So the glands are the one which are included in the parenchyma. The glands are 15 to 20 lobe. So it consists of a lot of lobes, like 15 to 20 lobes each gland. So each mammary gland consists of 15 to 20 lobes. So it's been divided. The whole of the mammary gland is divided into 20 lobes. So it's been divided by the connective tissue that is entering to the mammary gland and dividing it. We are going to see the next part, that is stroma. So stroma has some extension into the mammary gland that divides the mammary gland into different lobes. Each lobe is a cluster of alveoli and is drained by lactiferous duct. If you look at each lobe, these are different lobes, 1, 2, 3, 4, in that way. So each lobe consists of the lactiferous gland, which has some grape-like structures, and these are called the alveoli, the sac-like structure called alveoli, and there are a lot of alveoli in each cluster, in each lobe, and they are drained by a single duct that's called lactiferous duct. So all of this sac-like structure, they are opening into smaller ducts, and all the smaller ducts later forms lactiferous duct. The lactiferous duct converge towards the nipple and open to it. We have seen it, that nipple has some openings for the lactiferous duct. Near its termination, each duct has a dilatation called lactiferous sinus. When it terminates into the nipple, just before that there is a dilatation, and this dilatation are called lactiferous sinus. So some amount of the milk can be stored in this area, lactiferous sinus. So next, stroma. So I already mentioned that stroma is the one, it's a connective tissue. It divides the gland into different lobes, 15 to 20 lobes, right? Yeah. The stroma, it forms the supporting framework of the gland. It's partly fibrous and partly fatty. So the structure wise, the stroma here is fibrous and fatty, because there are a lot of fat which can be seen in the mammary gland. The fibrous stroma forms septa known as suspensory ligament of Cooper. which anchors the skin and the gland to the pectoral fascia. So the stroma that forms a particular ligament or septa called suspensory ligament of Cooper, they are attached to the pectoral fascia so that it anchors the skin and the gland onto the pectoral fascia. So it gives structural framework support. Arterial supply of the mammary gland supplied by internal thoracic artery. Internal thoracic artery is a branch of subclavian artery. Lateral thoracic artery. Lateral thoracic artery is a branch of axillary artery. Superior thoracic artery, again it's a branch of axillary artery, first part. Acromiothoracic artery, in that is a branch of axillary artery, second part of axillary artery. Lateral branches of posterior intercostal arteries. Posterior intercostal arteries are not shown in this picture, but they are present in the intercostal space posteriorly. So these are the different arteries supplying the mammary gland. Venous drainage. Superficial veins which will drain into internal thoracic vein. Internal thoracic vein. Here it is, internal thoracic vein, and into superficial veins of lower part of neck. Some of them drain into superficial veins of the neck. There are many superficial veins on the neck, drains into that. The deep veins into internal thoracic vein. Again, the deep veins also will drain into internal thoracic axillary vein, posterior intercostal veins, which are located in the intercostal space, posterior intercostal veins. So superficial veins usually drain into the superficial veins of the neck and also internal thoracic vein. The deep veins also contribute or also drain into internal thoracic vein, axillary, posterior intercostal veins. Nerve supply. Breast is supplied by anterior and lateral cutaneous branches of 4th to 6th intercostal nerves. So intercostal nerves that gives off branches in the anterior aspect called anterior cutaneous, on the lateral aspect lateral cutaneous branches. So they supply the mammary gland, usually 4th to 6th intercostal nerves. The nerve convey sensory fibers to the skin and autonomic fibers to smooth muscles of blood vessels. So these are cutaneous and also supplies to the blood vessels. Here the blood vessels are supplied by the autonomic fibers that is coming through the spinal nerves in this area, because the spinal nerve has connections with sympathetic chain. So the sympathetic chain or sympathetic flow can pass through the spinal nerves and reaches in the blood vessels. The nerves do not control the secretion of milk, even though the nerves are present here, but it is not going to control the secretion of the milk. Secretion is controlled by a hormone, prolactin. So the secretion of milk is purely under the control of prolactin, which is secreted by parts anterior of hypophysis cerebri, and prolactin is secreted by the pituitary gland, the anterior part of pituitary gland. So pituitary gland, if you have not studied, you can study that. I have done a video on that. Now the lymphatic drainage. Now carcinoma of the breast spread through lymphatics. So here the lymphatics comes important because the cancer of the breast is common, so it can easily spread through lymphatics. And there are lymph nodes which are present in the axillary region. So it's important to know them clearly. Axillary lymph nodes, chiefly the anterior pectoral group. So the main drainage is anterior group or pectoral group, which is lining along with pectoralis minor muscle. Posterior, then other groups like posterior group, which is lying along the subscapular vessels. Central group at the center of the axilla. Apical group below the clavicle or on the apex of the axilla. So they also receive the lymph from breast either directly or indirectly. So these lymph nodes drains the mammary gland either directly or indirectly. Now, so we have seen first group, that is axillary group of lymph nodes. The second group is internal mammary lymph nodes. So in the first group itself we have seen different variety or different parts of it according to the location of the lymph nodes. The second group that is draining the mammary gland is internal mammary. Internal mammary nodes, which are also called as parasternal because it is lying on either side of the sternum. So which lie along the internal thoracic vessels. Internal thoracic vessels passes onto the lateral aspect of the sternum on the deeper aspect. So these lymph nodes are lying along with internal thoracic vessels. Now some lymph from the breast also reaches supraclavicular lymph nodes. Some of the lymph will reach to supraclavicular lymph nodes which are present above the clavicle. Cephalic, they are seen in the deltopectoral groove, or they are called as deltopectoral node. Posterior intercostal nodes, they are lying in front of the heads of the rib, so it is lying posteriorly. And subdiaphragmatic, it is below the diaphragm. And subperitoneal lymph plexus. So subperitoneal lymph plexus are seen in the abdomen, again below the peritoneum or deep to peritoneum. So it is having connections to deep areas, to different areas. So deltopectoral nodes can be seen in this area. This is deltopectoral groove between the deltoid muscle and the pectoralis major muscle. So in this area deltopectoral groove is present where you have deltopectoral lymph node. So there are different areas like we have seen the pectoral group, alright, the axillary group, the internal mammary group, and another group where the breast is drained. To this area breast is drained. Now we can divide the lymphatic drainage of the mammary gland into two sections: superficial lymphatics and deep lymphatics. Superficial lymphatics drain the skin over the breast except for the nipple and areola. So usually the superficial lymphatics that can drain the skin, but it is not going to drain the nipple and the areola. Whereas the deep lymphatics drain parenchyma of the breast. The deeper lymph nodes which are lying in the deeper area, that drains the parenchyma. They also drain the nipple and areola. Even though nipple and areola lie superficially, it is drained by deep lymphatics. About 75% of the lymph from the breast that drains into axillary lymph nodes. So almost all of the lymphatic drainage is going to the axillary, 75%, mostly anterior group and partly posterior and apical group. So these are the main lymph nodes draining the breast in the axillary group. 20% goes to internal mammary nodes. So 20% that goes to internal mammary nodes which are lying around the internal thoracic vessels, and 5% that goes to posterior intercostal nodes. So the lymph drainage to the posterior intercostal nodes are minimal, whereas to the axillary group is maximum. Lymph from the anterior and posterior group passes to the central and lateral groups and through them to apical group. So usually lymph that is drained by anterior group and the posterior group that goes to the central and also to the lateral group, and through them it goes to apical group of lymph nodes. So I said at the beginning that the axillary group of lymph nodes, they can drain directly or indirectly. So here you can see the anterior group is draining directly and the central group is draining indirectly. Then it goes to the apical group. Finally it reaches supraclavicular lymph nodes. Now finally from all these lymph nodes it drains or it reaches into supraclavicular lymph nodes which are present above the clavicle. The internal mammary nodes drains the lymph not only from the inner half of the breast but from the outer half as well. Internal mammary lymph nodes which are lying along the internal thoracic vessels, they drain the lymph of the breast from the inner half and also from the outer half as well. A plexus of lymph vessels is present deep to areola. So there is a group of lymph vessels which can be seen deep to the areola, This is subareolar plexus of SAPI. These group of lymph plexus are called plexus of SAPI. Subareolar plexus and most of the lymph from the breast drains into anterior or pectoral group of lymph nodes. So this plexus, subareolar plexus of SAPI, and also the major part of the lymph that goes to the anterior group of lymph nodes. So anterior group of axillary lymph nodes. Lymphatics from the lower and the inner quadrants of the breast may communicate with the subdiaphragmatic and subperitoneal lymph plexus after crossing the costal margin and then piercing the anterior abdominal wall through the upper part of linea alba. So the lymphatics from some areas of the breast like lower and the inner quadrants, they can communicate with subdiaphragmatic lymph nodes. Subdiaphragmatic lymph nodes are present below the diaphragm, that is in the abdomen, and subperitoneal lymphatic plexus, that is again in the peritoneum. Now, after crossing costal margin, so these crosses the costal margin and pierces the anterior abdominal wall through the upper part of linea alba. So it's a communication that can be seen between the lymphatics that is draining the breast, and some of them are connected to the lymph nodes which are even seen in the abdomen. So because of the communication of lymph vessels with those in the abdomen, cancer of the breast may spread to the liver and cancer cells may drop into pelvis producing secondaries there. So the issue here is that because of the communications, the breast cancer that can spread in different directions, like it can go into the abdomen via these connections and it can reach the liver, or it can reach up to the pelvis as well, and that can lead to the secondaries there. Okay, the spread, the metastasis can occur.